Hello and welcome to Where the Road Rises with me, your host, Eileen Curlin-Walsh. Today we are going to talk about funeral, burial, cremation. Yes, the disposition of your remains. We are going there. But I promise you it will not be depressing. This is valuable information my clients often ask for. You may even find it a little bit uplifting. What I can tell you, dear viewers, after 20 years of estate planning, I know that grief is a debilitating state. When you pass away, your family will be in such a position they can hardly think. They will be confused, concentration is impaired. So the more you plan in advance to prepare them, if all they have to do is walk through the arrangements you have made, you have given them an additional wonderful gift. So let's talk about those arrangements. First, think about how you would want your body to be treated. What would you want to happen after your death? Do you want your body to go to medical science? We still have clients who choose that option. If this is what you want, if you have always been moved by service and giving, if you care deeply about the advancement of medicine, maybe you've had a child who went to medical school and you saw how reverent and valuable the cadavers were, then by all means make that your choice. Find an organization, hospital, school that you trust and that you want to donate to. Find out what their process is, get the paperwork completed, and get it with your other important documents. This is how you will make sure that your family knows what you want and what arrangement you've made. Another very popular choice is cremation, particularly in recent decades when churches have become a little bit more lenient with this choice. So, if you know you want your body cremated, think about where you want to get that process set up and maybe think about the distribution of your ashes. I've had clients say they would love their ashes to go with a loved family member, maybe with their pets, somewhere they've had a wonderful vacation, their honeymoon, maybe back to their homeland. Just have a think about it, talk with your family about it, and get those wishes into your estate plan. Get them with your important papers. In fact, since 2015, our power of attorney for healthcare permits you to get those details in there and give authority to whomever your agent is to have the ability to carry those wishes out. A very traditional choice is, of course, burial, interment. Perhaps the most expensive choice, but it's still very much a popular one. All of these arrangements, cremation, an ecological choice, burial, can all be made in advance. And most responsible adults plan not just for the arrangement, but for how it's going to be paid for. Something that happens often and is perhaps a little sad in recent times is a GoFundMe for the family if arrangements have not been made. It's wonderful that we have this new platform for families in that position, but it can feel a little shameful or embarrassing. So if you don't want to place your family in that situation, let's get the arrangements not just made in advance, but paid for in advance. Most funeral homes will have a pre-need contract. You can go to the funeral home, pick out what you want, get all the details, get it into a contract. It's all governed by law. We have a Funeral and Burial Act here in Illinois. We have a Cemetery Cares Act. So you are very well protected by consumer law. You don't have to be concerned that you're going to pay this money, sign a contract, and then the funeral home will just go poof. You are protected. Now, if you don't want to be tied to a particular funeral home, you could think about a funeral trust. You know how I always tell you there's a trust for everything. Yes, indeed. There's also a funeral trust for your arrangements. The idea with a funeral trust is that the trustee is not necessarily the funeral home. The trustee is an independent party, a financial house, maybe an insurance company. So there is more flexibility for you that way. The trustee can make sure that if you change funeral homes, that can happen. If you move out of state, that can happen. They can monitor the costs in that policy, in your funeral trust. If there's money left over after the arrangements are taken care of, that can go back to your family. A funeral trust is a wonderful option for the payment of those costs. You're protected, and it's something you can do in advance. It can be revocable or irrevocable. You might wonder, if you have a choice to make it revocable, why would you ever choose anything else? And indeed, revocable is good because it gives you flexibility to move out of state, to change your mind about your arrangements, and then you can get your money back if you have changed your mind. But for those of us who are spending down assets, maybe for a family member, in order to qualify for Medicaid, pay for nursing homes, then pre-arrangements do have to be irrevocable. So we decide what we want, we get it in the paperwork and decide how to pay for it, either by annuity, insurance policy, funeral trust, whatever way you want to do it. Get it all taken care of in advance. Then think about your additional wishes. How do you want to be dressed? One of my very first clients I had many years ago, what she wanted has always stayed with me. This lovely little old lady who had pages and pages of wishes. The hymns she wanted sang, her readings, and the beautiful blue dress she wanted to be in her coffin in, and the Flower of Scotland playing at the service. It was so full of detail and it was beautiful. But I've had guys who say, throw me in the woods for all I care. Some people are detail oriented, others are not. All that matters is what you want is in your paperwork. You can say, here are my wishes. I very much want you to do this for me. Or you can say, I trust you to do what's right for me, but here are my suggestions. Or you can just pass it over to them and say, you at that time will be in the best position to do what's right for me. I just trust you to take care of everything. But let me tell you, the more detail that you want and the more that you put in place, the better chance there is of it getting carried out. One of the things I always talk to you about is family harmony. Most families I know can't even decide where to go for dinner without a little bit of an argument or disagreement. So deciding something as sensitive and tender as mom or dad's arrangements, when everybody, again, remember, is in that fragile state of grief, is extremely difficult. So the more you plan in advance, the more you make it a win-win. You make it easy for them, and you make sure that whatever it is that you want is carried out according to your wishes. A couple final things. I want to make sure that any of you who have lost a family member to COVID, friends, someone from your church in the last year, knows that just this month, FEMA has released funds for reimbursement. So if someone died after January of 2020 and it was COVID related, either the main cause on the death certificate or as a related cause or a contributing factor, then you can have those costs reimbursed up to $9,000. That's a huge relief for those families so horribly affected by the pandemic. Go to FEMA, F-E-M-A, website. If you have any questions, just call us here at Curlin Walsh Law. You know how to get a hold of us, and we'll be happy to give you the details. Oh, that was a lot today. Those arrangements that we talk about, we do take care of that in the estate plan. Sometimes people will say, should this be in my will? And I'll say, but the will is often not taken out until after death, until after the arrangements have already been taken care of. So I say, get it in your powers of attorney, put it with your important papers, with the doctors, your medications, the kinds of paper your family are going to be looking for before your death, if you're already in great years or already ill. See, that wasn't too bad, was it? I'm going to leave you, as always, with a lovely quote. This one I love, from Washington Irving. This is for those of you currently in grief, or those of you who've been in grief, to validate those tears. There is a sacredness in tears. They are not the mark of weakness, but the mark of power. They speak more eloquently than 10,000 tongues. They are the messengers of overwhelming grief, of deep contrition, and of unspeakable love. Thank you, dear viewers, once again for watching, for listening. I am delighted to say that we will be back in Channel 4 studio next month, and our very first show is going to be my 10-year anniversary retrospective and a little bit more personal information about your producer extraordinaire, Ron Jankowski. So until then, take care of yourselves and each other. Goodbye.